Hey, hello and welcome to From Fatigue to Freedom. WTF is happening to your hormones and your energy. I'm Natalie Garay. Thank you for joining me for this workshop. This is something that I hear a lot. I hear a lot from my clients. I hear a lot from the women in the North of 40 Club, women who are over 40 talking about feeling fatigue nonstop, no matter how many hours of sleep they get, they still would get tired. That midday slump, 3 o'clock, everyone's exhausted and ready for bed early, which I'm an early to bed person anyway, so I'm always ready for bed by 8, 9 o'clock. I start to wind down. I'm definitely in bed by 9:30 at the latest. But everybody knows that I have a bedtime and I'm out as soon as I can. Um, so thank you for joining me. We're going to go through a lot here, and you are welcome to take notes. You are welcome to send me messages with your questions, whether in email or on DM and on Instagram. And I have placed my Instagram handle here. Natalie says UTF. You can find me on Instagram everywhere. That is my handle. So we're going to get into it. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Natalie Garay, and you have probably been around my orbit, my community a little bit if you've signed up for this, whether you're on my email list, on my YouTube channel, or on Instagram. I tend to hang out mostly there, or maybe even on my podcast. So I'm Natalie Garay. I have been working in women's wellness for over 2 decades. I started my world around women's health as a dancer. I graduated with a BA from UC Santa Barbara in dance. I was a professional dancer in Los Angeles for a few years, and then I became a mom of twins, and then a mom of another daughter a couple years later. And at that point, I was introduced to Pilates, and I certified as a Pilates instructor and taught for over 20 years. I still teach Pilates. I still practice it myself. I have a reformer over here on my left. I practice in-home sessions, virtual sessions. I incorporate it into my work with my clientele. The majority of the women that I work with are moms, although I work with non-moms as well. But the moms that I work with are experiencing symptoms related to birth and pregnancy, particularly pelvic floor weakness, C-sections that haven't been rehabilitated, and abdominal wall separation or diastasis recti. And I actually wrote a book about it, and it's coming out in just a couple of weeks or a week, which is wild because this has been a project that I've worked on for over 3 years actively and 10 years in my head and just jotting down notes. And the fact that it will be available soon is really just wild to me right now. I don't think it's hit me quite yet. But basically, this book is the guidebook we should have all left the hospital with, or all left our birthing center with. Because what I saw in the Pilates studio, whether it was in various studios that I worked in for many years or physical therapy clinics, and then my own studio from 2015 to 2020, was that women were never given the tools or information about how to rehabilitate their body after having kids, let alone did they know they needed to rehabilitate, because we look at pregnancy and birth as such for the most part, a general process that we're supposed to experience easily, effortlessly, when we know there's a ton of women who don't experience it so easily, but we're expected to come out of that as if we know what to do and as if our bodies will just naturally bounce back. And they don't, because we are weakened by that process during the pregnancy and delivery process, during the big major C-section surgery and the abdominal wall separation. If that's something you are interested in learning more about, I've done a whole podcast series on the inside of my book. You can also buy my book after the 28th on any major online platform. Luna says, go get the book. Okay, so graduated from UCSB with my degree in dance. I spent 20 years as a master certified Pilates instructor. I also am a master certified flower essence therapist. Back in 2013, I was introduced to flower essences, and I used them for my own emotional and energetic healing. What I learned was, and what I just was noticing in my clients was that, we all needed this physical rehabilitation, abdominals, back support, pelvic support, but we also needed energetic and emotional healing. And what that showed up as in my clients was they were feeling as grounded. They were feeling a little disconnected to their body, feeling some sadness, feeling not so grounded. Of course, everybody was a little bit frazzled. This was a huge pregnancy and birth are major transitions. And again, going back to the idea of like, women are supposed to have kids. Women have them easily. Women are supposed to bounce back. Women are supposed to then kind of just jump into their regular habits that they were doing before, but now with a child and a whole new identity, right? So as a mother of 3 amazing daughters, I have twins who are now 22 and 20. I need to update this slide. They are amazing, but I shouldn't say, but I learned a lot in that process as a mom, as someone who spent 2 months on bed rest in the hospital with the twins, someone who had emergency C-section, who was a dancer and relatively strong at that point, then having my body be completely atrophied after my surgery, after having my daughters, and then having my third daughter 19 months later, and again, having another C-section. So in that process, and with working with women over 20 years, I saw a lot. I saw a lot of what happened to our body during pregnancy and birth or C-section surgery. In 2022, after my mom passed away from dementia and after my daughter experienced a health crisis in 2021, it prompted me to go back to school. Both of them sought the help of their primary care physicians, but also the help of a functional medicine doctor who got to the root cause of what was happening to them. And I learned a lot and was fascinated by this whole process, this idea of advanced blood work, of neurofeedback, of food being medicine, of supplementation when our body is deficient of micronutrients. It was intriguing, fascinating. Went through all the emotions of why doesn't everybody know this? I wish I'd known this sooner for both of their sakes. And it drove me to go back to school to become a naturopathic doctor. So at this point in time, I am 2 classes away from finishing my prerequisites. I have 2 classes to take, Organic Chem 1 and Organic Chem 2. And just as of a couple of days ago, I applied to my naturopathic doctor program, and I hope to be there in the fall of 2025. And this is a 4-year program. And what most people don't understand is about naturopathic doctors here in California anyways, that we are licensed to practice as a primary care physician in California. We can treat, diagnose, and prescribe as a physician can. And I am very much looking forward to being able to support my clients and women north of 40 more when I have my degree. And that will be my focus, because the brain is something I am obsessed with at this point after going through my mom's dementia journey and after my daughter's journey with her health, which was also focused on the brain. And it led me to take a deep dive into my health, and I learned a lot. And so I will be deep diving into this some more in school, with my focus being on women's health, longevity, hormones, and brain optimization. And this is what I now incorporate into working with my clients. What I learned during my process with advanced blood work is how to support my health, my brain, and my body. And in that process, I lost 40 pounds over the course of 4 years. And although it did come up quite quickly when I implemented this protocol, and reversed my biological age by 20 years. So I now walk my clients through this protocol and support them in their longevity journey, reducing inflammation, balancing their hormones, and helping them supplement their body with food or supplementation, walking them through the protocol. Of course, everything is tailored to what each client's specific needs are, because we are not designed the same, and none of this is one size fits all, which I love even more. So today, what we're going to cover here is the root cause of fatigue, because there are so many different factors. And what I help my clients do is implement different things to whatever they need. Let's say they are experiencing fatigue. We take a deep dive into what their sleep habits are and set them up on a protocol for sleep. And because there's so much to implement, we do it over time. And my goal is to support them in this process, because I didn't have support. But I was very determined because my whole goal in taking a deep dive into my health was to make sure that I didn't end up with dementia, because it is 45% of women who have dementia is preventable. It is preventable. So it's lifestyle, it's food, it's supplementation, it's hormone balancing. And again, this is something that I am highly obsessed with, intrigued by, and very determined on helping women support. And so my job is to support you on this path, because it is implementation. It is a lot of work, but I want to be there for you and help you feel accountable and support you through that process. And like I said, I was determined. And so it was a very strong decision that I made that kept me going, because I didn't do it with a coach. I had the doctor who gave me the protocol. I had the labs in front of me, and I navigated it that way. And that's how I support my clients. So we're going to dive deep into the science of energy production, which I love. Again, I'm a science nerd now, apparently, after spending most of my time as a creative person and a dancer. Going back to school was never on my bingo card, but here we are. How to combat the midday slump and pinpointing energy drains. This can be multiple things, multiple factors. We're going to dive deep into these, but I wanted to give you an overview of what we're going to cover today. Creating lifestyle shifts. Easy does it, because you don't necessarily need to or want to jump in, head first. Again, that's where I come in and I help create a roadmap for you, and we implement it piece by piece so that you don't get overwhelmed and don't want to throw in the towel. Long-term energy optimization and mindset shifts. My mission here in the work that I'm doing and in going back to school is to leave a legacy of transformation in the realm of women's health, and to ensure that women's voices aren't silenced, symptoms aren't dismissed, and critical health issues aren't ignored. Every woman deserves to feel empowered and in control of her health. I have heard too many stories from my clients and friends who have gone to their doctor to say, I don't feel like myself, something is off. And they've been met with dismissal or the little hand wave of, that's normal. You're 40 now, or you're over 40 now. This is just something that's part of life. This is just something that's part of being a woman. Or you've had 3 kids, it's to be expected. Of course, you're tired. Of course, you're run down. You're running a company. You're running your own business. You have children. You are a community member running communities. You have a partner. Of course, you're run down. And to me, that's very frustrating. It's frustrating. It's infuriating, and it needs to stop. And what I want is to be able to educate women about what's available out there, which is why I wrote my book as well, which is why I have my podcast, which is why I share videos on YouTube. I want you to have the tools to say, no, I don't receive that. I don't believe that there are answers, and I want to find them. And I know that this is available. And you know what? It may not be that doctor that you find it from, but at least you have the tools to say, yeah, this is not something I'm going to settle for. I'll go look elsewhere. And it also is infuriating, because that is what my mom was met with when she didn't feel like herself and she went to the doctor. They gave her an antidepressant. But what we know now, and what I've learned now, is that if you're experiencing a dip in your mood and you're over 40, or you're not even over 40, it can happen in your early 30s, mid 30s. Some women experience perimenopause or early menopause at that age. And, some women may well need antidepressants. But why don't we look a little bit deeper and see if it's a hormone related thing, or see if it's a micronutrient related thing? But vitamin D deficiency is a big factor into feeling depressed. And so we're, vitamin B and other vitamins and minerals that we aren't very familiar with. So this is so that and that you have the information available to say, okay, I'm going to look a little bit deeper on this. Because, like I said, the good news is you don't have to deal with that shit. Women are transforming after 40. I am proof of that. I had no idea I would drop 40 pounds when I started implementing these protocols and practices. All I wanted was to keep my wits and tits about me as I got older. I experienced my mom's dementia. It was heartbreaking. Her death was heartbreaking. My daughters were heartbroken because it was their grandmother whom they loved. It was, always in their life on a very regular basis. And it's not something I want to experience for myself. It's not something I want to put my daughters through. And it's something that I want them to have information about. I want their generation to be equipped with what is happening with their body, because my mom's generation wasn't, my grandmother's generation wasn't. Our generation is just getting little whispers of this. And I want everybody to be prepared, and I want everybody to have this information. So the good news is that if you're here now and you're 40 something, 50 something, 60 something, just like I tell my post-baby clients about physical rehabilitation, it's never too late to rehabilitate. It's never too late to transform your body. And it's never too late to take a deep dive and your body, to change your mindset, to change your brain optimization, your brain function. And because you're here, my assumption is that you're like me, you have a lot of goals, you have a lot of desires that you want to do in this second half, in your second act. My going back to school at the age of 46 was not an easy undertaking, especially going back and studying the sciences. I am basically having to train for life here by making sure that I eat properly, that I sleep properly, that I get enough exercise, that my brain is getting enough oxygen. I implement a lot of different practices to make sure that I can keep up with the schoolwork, so I can retain the work, to retain what I'm learning, to understand this new language of chemistry and math and physics and biology. So it's never too late. You can increase your energy. You can reduce your mood fluctuations. You can lose weight. That's what I was saying a second ago, is I didn't realize how much weight I had to lose. That wasn't my goal. I'll take it. What happened was I was inflamed. My body was inflamed and I didn't realize it. And once I started implementing, more exercise and the right foods for my body and supplementing according to what I needed, not just taking random supplements because someone online said you need to be taking this, because I had the data in front of me that said, hey, you're deficient in this, that, and the other. Supplement accordingly, or eat accordingly. And sometimes we don't get enough of that in our food anymore. From what I understand, the farms and the dirt and what we get now doesn't necessarily, the veggies and the fruit that we eat don't necessarily have all of the minerals and vitamins that it used to. And so sometimes we have to supplement with that. We can balance our hormones. We can reduce our hot flashes. And these are things not necessarily related to, well, yes, they are. They're all related to energy. Everything is related to energy. Hormones play a huge role in every system in our body. And that is another reason why that'll be an area of focus once I graduate, or as I go through school and graduate, because I know that hormones and not having balanced hormones played a huge role in my mom's dementia. And she did not receive information about how to balance her hormones or even hormone replacement therapy. And there's a great doctor now, Dr. Lisa Mosconi, who is doing studies on the brain, female brain, because of course female brains have never been studied, and very little has been studied anyway about the female body. But she's studying the brain premenopause and postmenopause. And there's a huge difference in estrogen in the brain, which can lead to, forgetfulness, cognitive decline, misplacing words, for all of the related symptoms. So we can improve our mind clarity, improve our sleep. I will nonstop talk about how important sleep is. Eliminate your migraines and increase motivation, because that's the other thing. That's what it comes down to. I need all of this to keep my motivation going. I need all of this to keep my drive going. And I want the energy that I need to keep up with my ambitions. I have a lot of things I want to do in my time here, in my second act, before I go, in order to change the way we look at women's health, to move the needle in women's health. So the work that I do, and that I will continue to do for the rest of my life here, is to help women look at the root cause of their symptoms. That is something that is coming about a little bit more. More physicians are going back and learning about how to get to the root cause, because in medical school, what they were taught was to name the symptom and then treat the symptom, as opposed to finding the root cause of the symptom. So your symptoms are telling you something. Your achy back is telling you something. Maybe it's that you have weak abdominals. Maybe that you have like a disc slipped. Maybe, your hips are off. This is like the check engine light in your car. Something is off and it's saying, help me, bitch. Something isn't working right and it requires some attention. Typically, the way symptoms are treated is by masking them. Like I said, it's like, what is it? We have pain. Take this. Let's mask it. Not necessarily what is causing the pain. Maybe we need to strengthen some muscles. Maybe we need to look at inflammation. Maybe we need to look at your diet. Maybe we need to look at a misaligned pelvis. Getting to the root cause will help more in the long run. This looks like taking a deeper dive into your diet, your lifestyle, your stress levels, movement practices, and inflammation. And when I work with my clients, we take a deep dive into their lifestyle, their diet, their movement practices, all of the things that might need some tweaking. And then we create a plan for it. I was going to say something else and I lost it there because my dog is barking. Okay, so understanding the root cause of fatigue, hormone shifts. The impact of perimenopause and menopause on energy levels is significant. I went to a symposium in New York City and it was fantastic. I don't even have words. It was so amazing. I learned so much. As we age, our body is constantly losing estrogen, losing progesterone, and losing testosterone. These are huge hormones for our systems operating, our brain, our heart, our liver, all of it. What I'm noticing in myself and what I will be doing for myself is taking hormone replacement. Progesterone seems to be the first that declines, especially if we're highly stressed. The body will suck the progesterone out of your body. It will take the progesterone. So when you're deficient in progesterone, your energy is depleted. Your mind clarity isn't necessarily there. When your body is depleted of estrogen, it could show up as the same thing as lack of energy. Your brain isn't necessarily functioning properly. Your sleep is interrupted. It will cause hot flashes. It will cause night sweats. That was one of the first symptoms I noticed too, was I was having some hot flashes, very mild. I would notice some beating on my legs periodically. And more so they're coming back. And so I'm looking into hormone replacement for myself. Testosterone, you're going to lose, and you'll notice that as hair loss. Again, energy, that'll play a role in energy and mood, libido. What I've noticed as my estrogen declines is that my cholesterol is very high and my liver, showed up in my labs not too long ago. It showed something was happening with my liver. And, didn't know that your hormones play a role in these things, in these symptoms. You may then go to someone, your primary care or, a heart doctor. And rather than looking at your hormones, they may put you on a medication of sorts. Not to say that it's not necessary or wrong, but you should definitely ask them about hormones and hormone panels. Adrenal fatigue and stress overload, and how chronic stress affects your energy. Like I was just saying a second ago, when you are stressed and then your cortisol rises, when your cortisol rises, you increase belly fat. Women will talk about sudden weight gain in their 40s or even late 30s. And that is because of your hormone shifts. Your drop in estrogen, your increase in cortisol, your drop in progesterone and testosterone. And chronic stress will deplete those sources more quickly. So yeah, that is I was thinking about that. Another thing that, excuse my pauses, that's another thing I will help my clients with is helping manage their stress and implementing something that will help decrease their stress. And it could be something as simple as taking walks. And I'm not kidding. Walking is the most underrated wellness tool we have. Sleep disruptions, again, going back to hormones. Your hormones depleting will wake you up at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. But that's not necessarily everything. I have a whole sleep protocol that I follow myself. I have a whole sleep routine. And so that's another thing we look into with my clients is, okay, what are you eating at night? What are you doing at night before bed? Do you have a routine? What does that look like? Do you have a bedtime? It's all of these things are important and something to look into. So if that's something you need to look into, you might want to create a bedtime routine to relax yourself before going to bed. I use an Aura ring now. I started using it, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. And I love using this tool. I love seeing real-time data that shows me how I slept, how my heart rate variation is, and how that affects my sleep in the middle of the night. It's not something you want to get too tied to, but I like having this information, and it shows me how much deep sleep I get, how much REM sleep I get, when I woke up in the middle of the night, all of these things. And it'll tell you, it looks like you didn't get that great of sleep. Is there something you did before bed that could have affected it? Did you have alcohol? It'll kind of give you little tips. So I love that. Nutritional deficiencies can also be a culprit in your fatigue. Common culprits like B12, magnesium, and iron could be something to look at for sure. There is another thing. So I do take a deep dive into my clients' lab work, and then we implement the food and the supplementation accordingly. So you'll want to look at that. Look at your blood work, your labs, which when you go to your primary care physician, unless you ask for something specific, you may not get an advanced panel. That's something you might have to ask for or look elsewhere. And that's something that I help my clients with. And if you have questions, we can certainly talk about that. And by the way, at the end of this, I'll share a link, or you can certainly email me to set up a call so that we can create a roadmap for you. If you're looking at all of this and you're thinking, oh my God, I don't even know where to begin. Well, that's where I come in. You can get your lab work done with your primary care physician, and then, we work as a team together to support you. They can give you the information, or you can bring me the labs if you go elsewhere or to a lab elsewhere. Then I can guide you through it, create a roadmap for you, and then coach you along the way so that you have support. The science of energy production. Who geeks out on the science now? I do. Didn't know I would. But the role of mitochondria, everybody probably knows the mitochondria from high school biology, the powerhouse of the cell. So how your cells produce energy and what it depletes. This is something I love as well. And for a while, I was wearing a continuous glucose monitor, and you've probably seen people wear them on their arms. Diabetics have worn them for quite a while, and now they're being used for preventative health. Side note, when we are declining in our hormones, so I'll use myself as an example. My recent blood work showed that I could be prediabetes, and that is because of my hormone depletion, as well as my muscle mass depletion. By the way, something else that we need to keep in mind is as we age, the depletion in our hormones has an effect on our muscle mass. And we need this muscle mass to create more energy, to make sure that we are so strong. We want to look at being strong over skinny. So muscle mass is a huge factor into our aging process. So if we decline in muscle mass, we age more quickly, and we're more likely to decline more quickly. So muscle mass plays a role in our longevity. We definitely want to build muscle to help support our metabolism, to help support our hormones, and to support our energy. And when I was wearing this glucose monitor, it would show me what foods would spike my glucose. And the reason why I wanted to know that is so that I could be able to curb that. And there's various ways to curb that. Usually the one I would go to would be like walking before a big meal or walking after a big meal. And the reason why you want to curb a glucose spike is because over time, glucose spikes will break down the mitochondria, which breaks down the cell, which has cause for aging and declining, and also is a factor in diabetes or energy. Yes. So the glucose spikes over time will break down the mitochondria, and we need that for energy production. blood sugar balance. So that's where that comes in. So we want to, that's where, and there's a great book called Good Energy by Dr. Casey Means, and she is one of the founders of the continuous glucose monitor that I was wearing. So keeping your blood sugar balanced will help prevent energy crashes through proper fueling. So you've probably noticed when you eat, a lot of carbs or a lot of sugar, then you're going to have like this big spike and then a crash. And you really want to keep it balanced in order to avoid that and avoid, potential cause for being diabetic or pre-diabetes like myself. And that's all being managed. I know I'm working on that currently. So it's interesting because I'll go back a little bit. When I took a deep dive into my health in 2022, I should say, I had optimized my sleep. I had optimized my food. I was keeping my hormones balanced. I was keeping my glucose spikes balanced. Everything was, in check. It was working. I reversed my biological age. I lost the weight. And then a couple of years later, shit shifted. So things obviously change over time. Once I'd optimized everything, my hormones started to decline again, took another dip. And so I had to revamp my protocol and look a little bit deeper and dive in a little bit more and supplement differently, supplement tools differently, add more things. And now, like I said, I'm looking into hormone replacement therapy to support my system. One thing I'll say too is hormone replacement is important for not only for muscle mass, but for bone density. And so a decline in estrogen also plays a role in our decline in bone density. Inflammation, like I said, played a role in my weight gain, and inflammation is something that you can also monitor too with your glucose spikes. If you had a continuous glucose monitor, you could reduce inflammation that way. And it's not to say you need a glucose monitor. Again, that's another thing I love is having that real-time information because it tells you immediately when your glucose is spiking, but you could probably feel it in your body anyway. Your spikes and your crashes. So that will definitely play a role in your practical strategies to combat the midday slump. So nutrition hacks, the best foods to fuel focus and avoid crashes. Well, we know that sugar does that. We know that caffeine does that. We know that certain carbs will do that. Other carbs, complex carbs, are much better than that for not causing spikes. And you know what? All of these foods are very specific to your body. And what I loved knowing is which foods did that for me. I found out which foods caused inflammation in my body and which didn't, and which ones I should avoid and which ones were more helpful for my body. So snacks would be more like nuts and something that would add, like a fat, avocado. These are all, again, based on you, but these are very general. One thing I learned, a lot of us have been told or think that eggs are perfect for everybody, but apparently for me, egg whites cause inflammation in my body. So I had to cut eggs. So no, movement and circulation obviously are energizing, taking oxygen to the brain, getting our blood moving, getting our oxygen moving. Quick exercises to boost energy in minutes. You could do some rebounding. I have a little trampoline and I love it. So I'll do that sometimes if I've been sitting for too long and I'm feeling a slump. Midday slump can also be a symptom of hormone imbalance. So again, going back to hormones and making sure that you get those checked. And what I've heard from some women too is that when they've asked their physicians for certain hormone tests, they've been met with a little bit of, disregard, saying that it's hard to track hormones or it's hard to test them because they change so often. But you can certainly check them and know what's going on, to know enough that you need, whether you need to replace them or not, or yes, replace them. Apparently, I need to get on the trampoline right now. Stress management techniques, which I mentioned, trampoline, walking, journaling is my go-to in the morning. I always have a journaling practice in the morning for a few minutes. I'll also use EFT tapping. So it's finding that toolkit for yourself that will support you throughout the day and the morning. And I will guide my clients to find tools, create a toolkit that they can implement into their day that would not necessarily affect their day, because everybody's busy and we do have a lot of shit going on, but we definitely do need to implement these things. And so being able to find an easy way to implement them into your day, to make them into a routine, because eventually it'll just become routine and you won't have to think twice about it. Building a healthy circadian rhythm, aligning your day for peak energy. So a lot of us, everybody has a chronotype. So some of us are more prone to staying up later in the evening. We feel better that way. Some of us go to bed early and wake up early. My body works that way. I go to bed early, I wake up early, and I've created a circadian rhythm with that. I go to bed at a certain time and I wake up at a certain time. Of course, sometimes it's interrupted, more so lately because of my hormone changes, but I'm nipping that right now. Reclaiming your energy through lifestyle shifts. So it could look like time blocking, energy and prioritization for high impact tasks. So I know, because I'm an early riser, I have more energy in the morning. I know that I need to get shit done before noon and then have something to eat. And then I'm usually done by 3 or 4. I know that I don't have a lot of energy after that at this point in time. But I also just know that my brain is more creative and clear in the morning. So I do a lot of my stuff in the morning. The importance of rest and recovery, redefining productivity through intentional pauses. This is a huge one. You are productive in your non-productive moments. Sitting and doing nothing is huge. It's in those moments when we can sit quietly and just kind of zone out that are the best. And I try to do that in the evening and in the morning. Also, what I've noticed too, if I'm too stressed, that my body doesn't have the ability to recover, it'll show up in my sleep. And it even has a little note that says, oh, it looks like you didn't have much time for recovery. Your heart rate shows it and it interrupted your sleep. But if I rest and don't do a whole lot, say I'm working like all day Saturday on a project, and then Sunday I don't do anything. Maybe I'm just sitting around. Maybe I'm going for a walk, hanging out with my girls, even zoning out and watching a movie. Then my body has a chance to recover and I sleep much better. And it shows up on my information on my ring, on my app. Creating a morning and evening routine for sustained energy. So yeah, going back again, I wake up at a certain time. It's usually around 6:30. I get up. I have some water, have a little something, usually try to eat like something like a fat before I have coffee. That's ideal. Sometimes I don't, and then it shows up later. And then I take my little coffee and I get back in my bed and I journal. I just write what comes to mind. I might write a couple affirmations. I pull a couple oracle cards. I journal on anything that those cards bring up. Then I'll do a little tapping, and it doesn't have to take long. These aren't huge, 1-hour practices. Sometimes if I have more time, I will take an hour. But these are important to me. And then at night, I have a routine as well. And it could be, shutting down all my lights at a certain time. I don't eat after a certain time. I don't use my electronics after a certain time. I might take a bath, wind down with other tools that I use. So these are important. And I get after my girls a lot too about, not using your phone right before bed because it will interrupt your sleep. Hydration, huge. Huge in our fatigue. Make sure you're hydrated. Drink lots and lots of water. And maybe sometimes that's even like adding a little bit of pink salt to it. If you're really dehydrated, you might need to add a little bit. Breaking through energy drains. So identifying energy vampires, people, habits, and tasks that drain you. That might be a tough one. It's hard sometimes to separate ourselves from certain people, but sometimes we certainly have to. And that might just be, locking yourself in the house for a day and not going out and putting out energy, not going to a group activity because it requires a lot of energy. I've been to events in the evening and it's a lot to get me out in an evening, but there's a cutoff time and there's only so much time that I have to create conversations. My ideal scenario is meeting someone one-on-one as opposed to a group setting because it does drain me. It's not necessarily the people or that they're bad. It's just the energy. It's a lot for me to be around, and I like my quiet. So those could be energy zaps. Eliminating decision fatigue, how to streamline choices for better energy. So just making sure that what you are agreeing to is something that you really, really want to do. If you are dreading it, it will zap your energy. If you have too many decisions to make, narrow it down to the ones that are really exciting to you. And you will be able to feel that in your body. Some things it feels heavy, it feels gross. And other things just really light you up and really excite you. So I would just go with those because those will energize you as opposed to sucking out your energy. Detoxing from stimulants, caffeine and sugar's role in the energy roller coaster. When I decided to focus on my food, I eliminated caffeine for a while. I eliminated alcohol. I have not touched alcohol much in the last 2 years. Might be like 1 or 2 times. And sugar. I was very consistent with not eating sugar. And if I did, it was like really dark chocolate, a little piece of dark chocolate. And it did make a huge difference. I drink coffee now. I think it's the one vice I still have. And I have considered dropping it, and I probably will soon because I've noticed it affects me differently than it used to. Also, that was the other reason why I quit drinking alcohol was because I noticed how quickly it affected me and how much it affected me. And I didn't like how I felt after drinking it, whether the night of or the next day. I just felt like shit. And so it doesn't taste good to me anymore. But also it affected me differently. Like it just hit me so much more quickly than it used to. So I don't do that. I don't drink much alcohol, if any. I hate to say I don't drink because, who's to say that, I might have a glass of, I don't know, champagne for a celebratory moment, like when I graduate from my naturopathic doctor program. Maybe not. Maybe that's what's the word? Counterintuitive. Maybe that's an oxymoron. I don't know what the word is. I graduate from naturopathic doctor school and then I go for a glass of champagne. That might be funny. Anyway, so stimulants, and I don't drink caffeine after 9 a.m. So there you go. Because I know that how long it stays in the body. And I, again, know how much it'll affect my sleep. And I'm very, very protective of my sleep. I might sound like a crazy person and you might be saying, heck no, I'm not doing all this stuff. And I get it. And you don't have to. I have a very strong reason why I won't and that I don't. And you may not have that same very strong reason or a very strong reason. And that's okay. And maybe some of these things you just want to implement because you want to feel better, and you will. It doesn't mean that you need to do all of these things. If you have even implemented some of these things, you will feel significantly better. That's, each of us has our own reason why and our own priorities. And each of you will pick what you want to do and what you think will benefit you. And it may change over time like it did for me. It's not like I did all of it at once. I've slowly implemented these things and practices because like I was saying earlier, it is a lot. It's a lot to do at once. It's a lot to take on because I've been through it and I know how much work it takes and dedication it takes. That's why I love supporting my clients along the way, along the process, through the process. And what that looks like is whether we meet one-on-one for an entire day. What I love is, like I said, meeting one-on-one with people in person and here in sunny San Diego. And we do a walk, we do a private Pilates session, we do a flower essence therapy session. We take a deep dive into your goals, whether they're life goals or wellness goals or both. And then we look at your labs if you have them, and we create a plan for you to implement. And when you go home, you have this roadmap to go through, and I can support you for the next 30 days or longer, depending on what you're looking for. And we can, talk about the options for that. And it's because every one of us is so busy, creating change in the world. I like to do it through Telegram app, where you can just send me a text or a voice note and says, hey, this is what's going on. I don't feel good, or this isn't working, or whatever it is. And we can just keep in touch that way, as opposed to like setting up another call, sitting on Zoom for 30 minutes to an hour. If you just have a quick question, then you have me in your back pocket to be able to ask me questions. The other way I work with clients is someone who knows they immediately want 3 months of support. And then we take a deep dive again into what's going on. Maybe it's your labs and your life. And then we look at your lifestyle and we start implementing. And again, you have me in your back pocket to support you. You meet up every 4 weeks just for a quick phone call to see if there's anything that needs to be changed or recalibrated. And then you continue on with your protocol with me in your back pocket to send me notes and voice memos. So those are 2 ways to work with me. Maybe it's just a one-off, 75 minutes. Here's what I have. Here's what I need. And then you run, you're off to the races on your own. All of those options are available. I also have a community, the North of 40 Club, where women are in there. I teach master classes. This is one of them. And you can join us in there too to get support. Pilates videos and yoga video library, master classes, Q&A, different various tools to keep you on track, keep you informed. And what I love about that is that as I go through naturopathic doctor school and I continue to learn, you're going to continue to learn and know the latest and greatest. So I'm so excited about being able to offer that to the women in the North of 40 Club. Okay. Going back to this, long-term energy optimization, hormone health, when to seek support and testing. Here's what I've learned. You are in menopause if you have not had a period for over a year. 12 months after that, if you have not had a period, you're in menopause. What that means is that your body has stopped producing estrogen and progesterone. There are options for you. And what I've learned, and when I said what I was saying, for me, I've decided to look into hormone replacement therapy, and that with bioidentical hormones. What I learned is that there was a big to-do back in 2002 about estrogen causing breast cancer. What we know now is that it doesn't. And a shit ton of women over the last 2 decades have been suffering without hormone replacement therapy. My mom was one of them. In 2002, she was around her mid-40s. That was when my twin daughters were born. That was 22 years ago. And I bet your ass she did not get any recommendation or conversation about hormone replacement therapy. That's when she was prescribed antidepressants. So if you have not had your period, you're in menopause, you will likely want to explore your options around hormone replacement therapy or something around those lines. This is not me saying you need to do it. This is me saying look into what your options are. Where we as women could be in perimenopause as early as our 30s. Or even mid-30s, and some go into menopause very early, and they call it medical menopause. So if you've had your, ovaries removed, or you've had, full hysterectomy, you are in what they call medical menopause. And so that is, and maybe you already are on some sort of hormone replacement therapy, but if you are experiencing symptoms like hot flashes, night sweats, interrupted sleep, achy back, achy hips, frozen shoulder, hair loss, heart palpitations. You guys wouldn't even believe, I think they said there are over 100 symptoms when I was at this symposium about menopause and perimenopause, which is insane. So definitely something to look at. Supplements and adaptogens, again, I recommend having labs done before you dive into this, because why waste money on expensive supplements that you don't need? That doesn't make sense to me. Why take a B vitamin if you are fully, sufficient in B vitamins, which I don't think many of us are, but why? They're expensive. Don't waste your money on that. Brain health and cognition, the link between mental clarity and physical energy. The amount of fat that our brain needs to function is a lot. And so when you eat things like good fats, like nuts, avocados, olive oil, what else is there? This is fuel for your brain. So you want to continue to focus on these, focus on your hormone health, exercising, building muscle mass, walking. These are huge. And like I said, I offer Pilates videos in the North of 40 Club. I offer one-on-one Pilates work when my clients come to San Diego for the day or when they're in San Diego, come over for one-on-one Pilates work. And if it's something that you do need and you don't live near me and we are working one-on-one, then it's something we can implement into your work, whether it's like a Pilates video customized to you that you practice to at home on your own, or we look for a Pilates studio in your area if you want to go in person, but it's definitely something that you'll want to implement. And I think Pilates is the greatest for anybody and everybody, no matter what your age is, no matter what your physical limitations are. I've worked with clients who have had spine fusions, shoulder replacements, hip replacements. I've worked with pregnant women up until the day before they delivered. I've worked with postoperative C-section clients. I've worked with teens, athletes, professional athletes, 85-year-old men who just wanted to get up back on the slopes when ski season came. It's available for anybody. And it doesn't matter how flexible you are. You do not need to be flexible. You do not need to lose weight before you begin Pilates. So just keep that in mind. Functional medicine insights, addressing underlying issues for sustained energy. So I basically have been talking about this the entire time, getting to the root cause, which is what functional medicine does, is gets to the root cause of what is zapping your energy. And naturopathic doctors were the OG functional medicine doctors. And now we've got this functional medicine training for physicians, primary care physicians who are wanting to learn more about how to get to the root cause because it wasn't something they learned in medical school, unfortunately. And with that, and as well with women's health, we are hoping that there's a huge shift in this. There's a great documentary called The M Factor that came out last fall, and that's another thing I saw when I was in New York City. And they talk about, each of the doctors was interviewed, and whether they're OBGYNs, urologists, you name it, each of them was asked how much training they received in medical school around women's health, menopause specifically. And each of them said, different answers, from none to maybe a week, maybe 12 hours. It was very minimal, if any, which is very frustrating, but hopefully changing. Mindset shifts for empowered energy, reframing midlife, viewing the stage as an opportunity for reinvention. If you need an example, there's so many women out there who are doing it, and we are still marveled by the idea that someone would start a business at 46 or go back to school at 46 or build their own, whatever it is, company at midlife at 50. But it's certainly possible. I'm an example of that. I'm publishing my first book in a couple of weeks at the age of 48. I went back to school at 46. I will graduate when I am nearing 52. And that is just for my medical school 4-year program. After that, I will likely do some sort of internship to further my knowledge around the brain and hormones and helping women over 40. So if you are someone who has kind of put yourself on the back burner for the last, 40 years or even the last 20 years while you raise kids or whatever it is, and you're like, wow, okay, now I'm an empty nester, or I don't care for this career path any longer. I want to do something different. This is your time, and you certainly can do that. And like me, you can train for that, train for life, train for your new life by optimizing your health. And I'm here for that. I'm so here for that. Oh, okay. Overcoming guilt around rest and self-care. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Just do it. Rest. Lay on the couch, stare at the ceiling, whatever that looks like for you. Wake up and go crawl back in bed. Go for a walk. Whatever, I don't even know. Take a bath. It doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be, if you want it to be, I'm all for it. Take a walk, take a bath, whatever. Just take care of yourself and your mindset. We don't have to earn it. We don't have to fucking earn it. We can just do it. Take time for yourself. Create a little bubble. Create a little schedule, whatever that looks like. It doesn't even have to be on a Sunday. Any day of the fucking week. Building confidence to set boundaries and protect your energy. Yeah, like I said, create it in your schedule. Put it in your calendar. That's what I used to tell my studio clients too. If you aren't scheduling it, it's not going to happen. If you're not, these are the 5 things I would tell them. Schedule it, prepay because someone's waiting for your ass and they're going to be pissed if you don't show up. If you need to, find a buddy to keep you accountable. You guys can keep each other accountable. If you make it convenient, so whether it's online, whether it's around the corner, whether you are, I need support online. You've got me in your back pocket. Make it convenient. Make somebody accountable to you and you accountable to them. Prepay and have fun. Make sure it's fun. Because these are all keys to being successful and whatever that looks like, whatever your endeavor looks like. And in the North of 40 Club, I like to keep it fun by making sure you're participating. This is one way to keep you accountable. Make sure you're participating there's points to be won, people. There's points, there's gifts. It's fun. It's a game. So to keep you active, building confidence, set boundaries, and protecting your energy. It's important. That was a lot. I know it was a lot of information and I love to talk about it. Like I said, I'm here for it. This is my new obsession. This is my new interest and my passion. And I am so passionate about moving the needle in women's health north of 40 because we are, expected to just age and decline and fade into the background and be done with life. And that's just not what I'm here for. I'm not ready to buy a rocking chair and sit my ass down and rock the rest of my life away. I'm 48. I am hoping for another, 50 something years? Do you know how much we can do in another 50 fucking years? It's insane. A lot. We can do a lot. Look at Jane fucking Fonda, by the way, dropping some F-bombs. Okay. So take it all in. I hope you took some notes. If you didn't, don't worry. If you have questions, you can email me at WTF@NatalieSaysWTF.com. You can go to the website. There's more information and ways to contact me. You can sign up there for the North 40 Club, which offers a 7-day free trial. So you can pop your head in, poke around, test out the videos, check out the master classes, connect with people, send me questions. Or better yet, schedule your 20-minute call with me and I will share a link with you to be able to do that. Get in the calendar and we'll meet. You can bring your symptoms to me, bring your questions to me. We can create a quick roadmap or I can answer your questions about any of the offers that I have, whether it's the 3-month Midlife Revolution program or our VIP day here in San Diego. If you really needed to do it, we could do it online, which is perfectly fine. Of course, I love seeing people in person, so that's my preference for something like that. But, we live in a virtual world and I love it and I'm grateful for it. It's what I've been doing since 2000. And the North 40 Club, check it out. So those are the main 3 ways that you can work with me at this point. But you can certainly find my book for more tools. That's available, like I said, after the January 28th on all online retailers. Listen to the podcast, WTF Happened in My Body. We're in season 3 now, which is exciting and fun. And you can find me on Instagram at Natalie Says WTF. Send me a message. I'm always available for questions in my DMs. So thank you for joining me. I appreciate you. I look forward to connecting with you. And enjoy the rest of your day.